Today's episode of the Get Your Comic On podcast may contain mild spoilers for the movies, shows, comic books, and games that we're discussing. And, if you're lucky, there might be some PG-13 language. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. Hey super friends, it's Neil and welcome to a brand new episode of the Get Your Comic On podcast. We're back to talk about a very big movie release which is currently streaming on Netflix, as well as catching up on some of the latest news from actually pretty much Movie Central, which is pretty exciting. Joining me this episode is Aaron. How you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I feel like we've got a lot of big stuff to talk about in this episode, which I'm excited to get into.
I know. So the major topic that has brought us together this week is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which has been in cinemas for a couple of weeks, select cinemas, and is now streaming on Netflix. Aaron saw this at London Film Festival, which we will probably touch on as we're talking about it. I saw it during the festival, but not at the festival. And I was like, well, I know the perfect person that I can talk to about this movie. But then we kind of figured maybe it was worth waiting to be able to talk about it once it was on Netflix, because I don't know how you felt about this. But like I went to the exhibit for all the props and the costumes for this film, and I went to the press night for it, which was before it was even in the cinema, never mind on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's like, we want you to share everything, like, you know, share all the stuff, share all the amazing artwork, share all the costumes. And I was like, I kind of don't want to do it right now, because at that point, they still hadn't even released a full photo of Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein, and even just a monster. So I didn't really want to share anything and spoil it for people.
Yeah, that is a good point, because I've not been to that exhibit, but I'd heard people saying that, like, oh, you know, sharing stuff from the exhibit might be spoilery. And originally I was like, well, it can't be that spoilery because it's a book from like 1810. But at the same time, I now, having seen the film and seeing some of the behind the scenes of it, I'm like, actually, no, there are things probably in that exhibit which are specific to the film that give it away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a good point, actually.
That was interesting. So that's why we have waited until now to save our talk about this film, so that we can kind of dive a little bit deeper into it and not worry about spoiling it for any of you lovely people watching or listening at home. But before we get into that, there was me thinking we were going to spend this entire episode talking about a bit of, you know, GDT, and then Aaron's like, can we pause for a moment, because it's been a pretty major week. There's been a lot going on in the news this week, so we have a bunch of stuff that we're just going to rattle off and talk about, which is actually pretty important to some of our most beloved franchises here at Geico, like Star Trek, which we're about to get very polarized on, so this could get really interesting. So if you have not been living under a rock, you'll know that the Ellison family, who own Skydance, recently bought Paramount Pictures. They now own the entirety of that company and are currently in the process of kind of figuring out what that looks like moving forwards and what their slate's going to look like. And of course, Paramount owns Transformers, they own Star Trek, they own Ninja Turtles, they own some major IP, and those are going to be key to the financial success of the studio moving forwards. And something that people have been going back and forth on for, nearly a decade now since the last film, is J.J. Abrams' Star Trek franchise. It's been a long time since Star Trek Beyond, which was released for was it the 50th anniversary of the franchise or something like that? It was one of the anniversary years.
The 60th,
Was it 6? Does that mean we're heading towards the 70th? That's quite scary if that's true. I'm about to be joined by a cat. Hello. Coming to say hello to people. But the news, so having kind of gone back and forth on it and seeming like there's been a lot of different scripts in the mix for what could be a fourth movie in the Kelvin timeline, which is the Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, I was about to say Zendaya, Zoe Saldana franchise. There's the wrong Uhura. It now seems like that's probably not going to be the case, and they're more likely to move forwards with something completely brand new. And that means that we probably won't ever see the Quentin Tarantino scripts that existed, or any of the other scripts that we've kind of heard about that have at some point been in some version of development under the old guard at Paramount. Now, one of us here is, I think, quite cut up about this piece of news. The other of us is sort of ready to move on. So we will see who lands on which side of the fence. Aaron, give me your thoughts on this one.
Well, spoiler alert, I'm the devastated one. Because for context, I'm not like a massive diehard Star Trek fan. I kind of came in through these films, which is
Yeah,
why they mean a
I
lot to
love how many
me.
people came into these films, though. It was considering there. Sorry to interject,
That's all right.
because there was no Star Trek on TV at the time. It was really
Mhm,
nice to see people actually get into the franchise and go back and discover the history from these movies.
mhm.
They came around at the right time, I think.
Yeah, no, I think half the reason why it works is because I had a rough knowledge
Mm,
of the basic gist of Star Trek, but not enough to like know characters and stuff like that, or know the ins and outs of it. So that first movie in 2009, which I still genuinely love to this day,
Oh yeah,
um, worked perfectly because it presented a fresh take on these characters that worked for people like me who were not au fait with the franchise
yeah,
but just wanted a coming in point. Um, and then the other two came out, and I know Into Darkness is quite polarizing, but personally, I love all three of them.
me too.
I fully realize that the second and third film are flawed, especially the second one. But I think they're fun. I think they're enjoyable. I think all the actors nail their performances.
Yeah,
Like
they do.
I'm aware that Shatner and Nimoy and all that lot, like they are those characters. But to me, when I think of those characters, these are the first people that I think of because I grew up watching them,
You grew up with them.
compared to a
Yeah,
lot of other people who grew up watching the originals or
yeah.
Next Generation lot. Um, I don't know. This news, it's one of those things where it's like I knew this was gonna be, I knew this was coming. I just wasn't expecting it to be done so kind of offhanded, kind
Yeah.
of very brash manner. Um, but I think because it's been so long since Star Trek Beyond, I kind of knew this was kind of inevitable.
I think this is why I'm not as bothered about it because I like you. I love all three of those movies, and I never
Mm,
really had an issue with Into Darkness. I thought it was interesting that it it's almost. I guess it goes to some of the multiverse storytelling that you get in
mm,
comics and we've seen with Marvel. It's like there are certain touch points that are always going to happen regardless of the timeline and
mm,
the Khan story, although it plays out differently in Into Darkness than it does in the
mm,
original series movies. It was like, okay, this is a confrontation that happens in every version of the Star Trek timeline. So it never really bothered me like it does others. Some people get really like
mm,
hot about how much they don't like it. Um, but yeah, I think because it's been so long, and so many of them have their careers have just like massively taken off since then.
mm.
I feel like it ends up being an incredibly expensive return to something which has an audience but isn't necessarily going to make billions at the box office. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we've had time to move on. But then the other thing, which was what I put in our group chat when you shared
Mm,
your post about it, um, that I think is potentially exciting if Paramount gets its house in order, is that the problem that you had in 2009 was that there was a big divide in the company, particularly between the
mm,
CBS side, which is like the TV studio side, who weren't making any Star Trek at the time, and the movie studio side. So that was why the Kelvin timeline ended up
mm,
basically separate. Although obviously you had Nimoy and you had the weird multiverse connection that made it sure that it wasn't ever
mm,
saying it was in place of the original series. It was happening in an alternate timeline. Um,
mm,
whereas now the company is kind of reunified. Good nod, Easter egg for Star Trek fans because that's the name of many episodes of Star Trek. Um, and so they're now able to make movies that could use characters from Strange New Worlds or Discovery
yeah.
or Picard or any. Well, I mean, they could use them anyway and just kind of disconnect the stories, but they can now do something that's in the continuity and they can make it in a way flow back and forth between what they're doing in streaming and what they're doing in theatrically. So
Mm,
I think there's more opportunity for some exciting storytelling now that could tie into all of the many amazing stories that they've had going on. So
mm.
I don't know. I'm ready for something new, I think.
Yeah, I also, because since this news broke on
It was
Thursday or
Thursday.
Friday, yeah, um, my brain's been in two minds where it's like I feel kind of bad because all the cast that are still there have voiced very vocally
Kind
over
of
the
want to come
years.
back, don't they?
Yeah, and as a fan of these films, I would like to see them reprise their roles, and I
Yeah,
hope with the new merging of TV and film stuff for
they could find
Star
a
Trek.
home somewhere.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to bring some of them, maybe not all of them, but some of them, like maybe Chris Pine or Simon Pegg.
Yeah,
But the other thing that my brain always keeps coming back to over all the years that they've been bouncing ideas around is that because of Anton Yelchin's death, I don't think a fourth film would ever feel the same.
no, I know. I
That's
think
like the
that's
one
part of
big
the
crux.
hesitation. Yeah, that was such a massive loss.
Yeah.
And you really felt it for them when they were promoting Beyond because he'd
Mm.
passed after it had.
Just as it was about to come out, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you really felt that loss for them, and yeah, I know that they would want to do it for him, but it would
Mm.
not be the same without him.
Yeah,
I
there is
think
the
you're
other part of my brain that's like Beyond does oddly end on like a nice bow,
it
like
does. Yeah,
end, because at the end it's like in memory of Leonard Nimoy who'd passed away a
yeah,
year before, and Anton.
yeah,
But also the way it concludes, it's like yes, they're going to go on a more adventures, but it's kind of nicely wrapped in a bow where it kind of
yeah,
works as a nice little trilogy. As much as
yeah.
I would like to see a fourth one.
Yeah, and you had the destruction of the ship, meaning that they were
Mm.
going to do the upgrade to make it from the 1701 to the 1701A, and
Mm.
yeah, 1A. Sorry, 1A has been weirdly been a recurring theme in my week this week. Story for another day. Um, Another interesting story this week is that it seems like things are moving forward at Universal for a sequel to Jurassic World Rebirth.
Hmm.
This does not surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah,
But we're at a point now where it seems like the studio is quite far along in negotiations. So nothing fully confirmed quite yet, but
yeah.
quite far along in negotiations with Gareth Edwards to return to direct, which is, I mean, it would be criminal not to bring him back. I know you must be so happy. Um, the bit that sort of surprises me, and I'm still on the fence, I'm very much on the fence this episode,
Hmm.
is bringing those three cast members back. And that's not because I don't
Mm.
like them, and not because I don't like these characters. Love Scarlett Johansson, love Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey, slutty little glasses, great, wonderful, love it. Um, I just, my issue coming out of it is I don't feel like any of those characters would go back to an island willingly. So,
Yeah.
and I know they will probably find a way to make this work in a story, but they're going to have to really sell to me that these three end up wound
Mm.
up with dinosaurs again before I'm
Yeah.
fully on board with seeing the three characters come back. Gareth Edwards doesn't need to sell on me whatsoever. Like,
Yeah.
leave him with this franchise for a while as long as he wants to
Mm.
do it. But I don't know how I feel about these three characters coming back without a really good storyline.
Yeah. There is one thing that's kind of been rattling around in my brain
Go.
in the last few days since, like, when I first heard the news, I was like,
You
great.
have a script idea?
No, 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 no.
Is this the pitch?
No, no, no. I wish it was. um, no, when I first heard the news, I was like, okay, this is great on all regards. But the more I've thought about it, I'm like, I, I don't want these three characters to end up becoming the Owen and Claire of whatever a new trilogy ends up being.
Mhm.
Like it. By the time we got to Dominion, it just felt like Owen and Claire were
Yeah.
there just because they're meant to be, with
Yeah.
no real reason to be there,
Yeah.
despite plot justification, whatever. If they brought back just one of the characters, like Jonathan Bailey seems like the more sense because he's the one that's into dinosaurs. He has the more
Yeah.
longevity to come back in any
Exactly.
capacity to help
Yeah.
people. A little bit like the Alan Grant of this, if it ends
Yeah.
up becoming a mini trilogy.
Yeah.
Um, but having all three of them come back, like you said, the more I think about it, I'm like, you really need to sell me on that
Yeah.
for it to work.
Yeah. So we shall see, I think, on this one. I saw an interview snippet, or I
Mm.
read an interview snippet with Scarlett Johansson. I don't know when it was done. Certainly wasn't kind of on this piece of news, but sort of went with it, which was her saying that she felt like it was a very singular story,
Yeah.
which was sort of her way of hedging her bets as to whether she would ever come back or not. I mean,
Mm.
maybe it's all through slutty little glasses, and he, you know, has to convince them to come back because he has to go back for some reason. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what they do, because I think they have surely heard any criticisms that came around the story of the last one, because I think that it was D-Rex, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that the D-Rex was very well received, where most of the rest of the film was.
Mm.
So I don't know. I feel like they're probably going to work really hard on a story for this one, and that maybe that's just me wishful thinking. But
Yeah.
it's
There
going to be
is.
interesting to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, there is also the other thing you have to take into account as well, that like on this current one, Gareth Edwards came in very late to the process, so
Yeah,
they'd
that's
already
true. He
come up
did.
with the story, they'd already done
Yeah,
like most of the pre-production, and then he came
I'd
on to
forgotten about that.
direct. Whereas this, he's
He's
here
kind of
from
got
the word go,
yeah,
so he might have more of a better way of trying to
yeah,
glue it all together rather than, oh,
and
we've already got a story, we just need someone to
yeah,
make it.
he is a great storyteller as well, from what
Mm,
we've seen of his entire career. So
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see on that one. So no formal announcements yet, but
yeah.
certainly seems like things are heading in that kind of direction, that we're going to see a continuation of their storyline. But
Mm,
regardless of how that turns out, I think it's great that the studio is trying to hold on to Gareth, because
mm.
he was the perfect choice for this franchise.
There was a bit of news rattling around a few months ago that he was potentially going to be in line to direct whatever the Dune film would be after Messiah.
Wow.
Which I don't know whether that got fully confirmed or not, but like if
Wow.
that's still a
I didn't.
potential thing, I mean, Denis Villeneuve's still got to make Dune 3 anyway,
Yeah.
um, so that's probably quite a while away.
Got at least
Uh,
3 to 5 years on that.
yeah, but if we could get to a point where it ends up being a case of like Edwards might have to choose between those two in the future, if depending how
I
long
feel like if that was the
pre.
case, Jurassic fits more in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, it does, because it's that perfect blend of like scale and like
Adventure.
creature stuff and
Yeah.
adventure, but also like using that scale to ground human
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
Whereas Dune is
Gets
Dune.
very dry by that point in the story,
Yeah.
if you've
So
read
I
that
don't
far.
know. I have not, unfortunately. But I've heard many people say that like from 3 onwards it gets a bit, you know, yeah.
Incestuous, to say the least. And so then, news that comes out of nowhere this week, to just move on from that
Yeah,
sentiment.
subtle
Um,
segue there.
yeah, this one I did not see coming,
No,
and
me neither.
this is another one where I really hope it's earned, is that Gremlins 3 is officially in development, with Chris Columbus returning to direct. You're going to correct me if I'm wrong on this. And
Yeah,
Spielberg also on as EP.
yeah.
I don't think we know anything else, do we? I don't think we have any idea of story or
Uh,
casting or anything like
well,
that.
no, there is one extra thing that got me really
Ooh.
intrigued. So on top of what you said, Chris
Mhm.
Columbus will also be producing, and for writing duties, Chris Columbus will be teaming up with Final Destination Bloodlines directors Zach Lipovsky and Adam B.
Ooh.
Stein. And
Oh, interesting. Okay.
as soon as I read that, I'm like, that's somehow perfect. I don't know why it's perfect, but like it just
Hmm.
kind of is.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one bit of news in the whole thing that kind of like I'm excited that it's coming back, even though
Yeah.
it's been like at this point, I think
Don't say it.
35 years. 35 years since by the time Gremlins 3 does come out, because it's currently slated for a 19th of November 2027 release, it will be exactly 37 years since Gremlins 2
Wow. I'm
when
so
it
old.
finally does come out, if it comes out on that date. But at
Okay.
this current
So
point in time, it's 35 years.
37 years. 37 years. It'll be out in 2 years. I mean, which means I was, uh, God, I was four turning five when that came out. Bloody hell. I hope somebody has already phoned Zach Galligan to see if he's free to
Mm,
return um, to the role.
mm.
'Cause, you know, I really feel like you need to have the cast back
Yeah,
in some way, even if it's just a cameo, like oh my god, not again.
because this is the thing. I don't quite. The first two were so dependent on obviously the creatures, but having Zach Galligan in them.
Yeah,
And now that we're so far removed from that second one, I think the only
I've not. Have you? Sorry. Have you
right,
watched any of the animated show? I've not seen
I,
it.
I was literally about to say that because that's literally the only, as far as I'm aware, that's the only Gremlins related thing we've had in those 30 years outside of
Yeah,
Gremlins 2.
yeah.
I've not seen it because I don't
I
have.
don't know where it's available in the UK because it's HBO Max in the US.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good question. I don't know where
I'll
it's. It
vamp for a
says you can
second while.
rent it on Prime Video for 14.99,
Okay. So it's
which I
never.
was not
In which
aware of.
case, it's never really had a massive proper release in the UK. Then
No, and I don't know what the reception has been to that show, whether it's been positive
as
or
far as I
negative.
know, it's done pretty well because it's on.
Hmm.
It's in its second or third season
I
in the
think they're
US.
working on a third. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it seems like it's done pretty well. I can't even remember what it's called.
Um,
Um,
Hang on, the
I think
secrets of
it's
the
Tales
Mogwai.
of something.
Yeah,
I want to call it Tales of the Yautja, which is weird because that's obviously the species from Predator. Um,
secrets of the Mogwai is what it's called.
I
So
was so
yeah, you were on the right line. um, I
Gremlins, Tales of the Yautja.
I think the thing that concern well, it's not a concern of this. I think because it's been so long,
Yeah,
I don't quite. They again similar to Jurassic World. They really need to justify the reason for them bringing it back this long,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
kind of an excuse for most legacy sequels. It's like you really
absolutely.
need a
Yeah,
good reason to bring it back.
yeah. I wonder if it's the
Um,
popularity of the cartoon in the US that's made them think, let's make another movie.
Maybe. I mean, outside of that series, I'm trying to think. I think the only thing my brain can think of that's had a Gremlin related thing in it is multiverses, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, true.
Literally the only thing I can think of.
I mean, both the original movies are great. I love both for different
Mm.
reasons. But if someone was to, hold a gun to your head, are you a Gremlins 1 or a Gremlins 2 kind of guy?
Um, I'm going to be honest. I don't think I've ever seen Gremlins 2 all the way through. So I will have to
Oh,
say Gremlins 1.
wow.
Um, but I do want to rectify that because I've heard it is quite
Oh,
bonkers in terms
I
of.
love, I love, I don't know if it's because the first one probably came out either when I was literally newly born and therefore I wasn't riding that wave until later. And
Mm,
maybe two, I was just more aware of. If I was like 4 or 5, I was probably completely enamored with the whole thing the first time I saw it. But I have
mm,
such an affinity for Gremlins 2. I absolutely adore it. Like
mm.
it's so bonkers. It
Uh,
is just like they were on something when they were coming up with that film because it just escalates and escalates and it's so like the amount of different weird crazy shit that gets thrown in there. Not a big fan of the spider gremlin. That is the absolute nightmare fuel. But like the female gremlin in the wedding dress, the one that's made of vegetables, the bat one, it's just like,
mm.
oh, it's so like, it's just incredible.
Am I
Um,
right in saying Christopher Lee and Hulk Hogan are in that?
yeah, I'm I'm Christopher Lee, I'm pretty sure, yes. I'm not sure on Hogan.
He doesn't he get up in the middle of a cinema and have a rant?
Yes, I think you are
Because
right. Yeah,
I've seen that scene, and I'm just like, what
yeah.
the hell's going on? But I do
Because
kind of want
it's
to watch it.
it's almost like a bottle episode of a TV show because it's almost all
Mm,
in one location.
yeah,
Because Zach Galligan's character is now in like the city. He's working at this massive conglomerate as
yeah.
his girlfriend, and I'm so sorry I can't remember her name or the actor's name.
Mm,
Um, and it's run by the guy who plays Lionel Luthor in Smallville. Um,
mm,
and it like there's all these celebrities and stuff that do things because it's a TV studio.
yeah,
It's just this like multi mega corporation with all this crazy tech in it that's supposed to be like future tech, but is now stuff that we all use every single day.
yeah.
And it's yeah, so they just like they stacked it full of cameos and just the most random stuff. But it is an amazing film, and like honestly, cannot recommend it enough.
I will definitely give it a watch. To be honest, I'm long overdue with the Gremlins rewatch anyway, so I might just do both in one go.
And the first one, Christmas movie. So
Yeah, yeah, that is a good point. I didn't
second
think of
one,
that.
I don't think is a Christmas movie, but what the hell? I'm pretty sure it's still snowy in New York in the film. So
Hmm, any excuse.
yeah, I'm excited by that one. I did not see it coming. So when I saw that that was a headline, I thought, okay, just I'm I've never seen either of the other two at the cinema because I was so young.
Hmm,
So it would be cool to get to see a Gremlins movie at the cinema, and interesting to see how they would do it with modern tech. Like I hope they would
yeah,
still keep it practical rather than go like completely VFX with all the characters.
yeah. I
But
don't know.
you
I
can't,
think
difficult to argue with how much you could do with modern technology in a concept like that.
yeah, that is true. I think it really surprised me when it got announced because I was just like, "Oh, we're doing the Gremlins 3 now."
Mm,
Okay, fair enough. I'll go with it. But yeah, it was quite surprising when it came out. I think a couple days ago. But yeah,
yeah.
I'm intrigued more than excited. I'll wait to
Yeah.
see any footage from it.
Yeah,
Because Chris Columbus
if
can
it's
be a
only in
bit hit and
development
miss.
now, I guess it'll be a while before it moves forward, so we're probably not gonna see that one for a little while yet.
Yeah, plus Chris Columbus can be quite hit and miss with his films, so there is that to take into account.
Yeah, that is also
Yeah.
true. So we shall watch this space and wait and see.
Yeah.
If you are excited for the idea of Gremlins 3, or are excited about a potential Jurassic World sequel, or you have thoughts on Star Trek and where that universe moves in movies, just let us know. Reply in the comments or hit us up on social media and let us know what you think, because we're always interested to know what you think on the latest news. Um, which leads us into our big review for this episode, which is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. This film has been playing in select cinemas for the last couple of weeks, as we were saying at the top of this podcast, and is now available to stream globally on Netflix. It stars Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein and Jacob Elordi as the creature. It's also got Christoph Waltz, Mia Goth, Charles Dance, David Bradley. It's a cool cast, some of whom have worked with GDT a few times now. If you are familiar with his work, be it through Hellboy or Pan's Labyrinth, Pacific Rim, Crimson Peak, Shape of Water, which obviously, swept
Yep.
every award going at the time. This is more of what you would expect from Del Toro: big, gothic, weirdly romantic
Mm.
fairy tale storytelling, um, which you saw during the festival.
Yep.
That was my brain going, where do we start? uh, I'm trying to think. I don't know what the most recent version of Frankenstein was that I had seen before this. I think that as much as this is a story that people know,
Mm.
and kind of, my brain just went to Frankenweenie by Tim Burton. So it's a story that we've seen loads of different ways and interpreted in different ways using different
Mm.
mediums. I think this is the first big screen one we've had for a little while, isn't it?
Yeah, especially in terms of like just a flat out Frankenstein related
Frankenstein.
movie.
Yeah.
The last one my brain goes to is I Frankenstein, and I
Mm,
don't even think that was like or even Victor Frankenstein, but I don't think those were like
yeah.
full. They were like
Yeah.
a twist on it.
This is the most probably traditional that we've seen in a long time. And to be
Yeah,
fair, if there was anyone that was going to direct it, I think it probably should have been GDT.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know why I've
but
started calling him GDT.
yeah,
Sorry, slang. But I started to watch some of the behind the scenes, because if you watch on Netflix, there is also
mm,
a 45-minute making of documentary. Um,
yep,
and he talks about the fact that there were two movies that he has always wanted to make that he thought were very similar stories about human storytelling,
mm,
and that is Pinocchio and Frankenstein, both of which he's made for Netflix.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know when. Okay, faithfulness to the story. Have you ever actually read the book?
I've read bits and pieces of it. I know. I think everyone knows the general gist of it, but
Yeah,
in terms of the actual book, I've mainly gone off of like it's one of those things where like growing up, I've gone off of like media's interpretation of the story rather than the story itself. Like
yeah,
it appearing in an episode of something, or Frankenstein appearing in stuff like Van Helsing from 2004.
yeah,
I've always been aware of it, but I've never
yeah.
fully
I
devoted
don't.
myself to reading the book.
I don't think I've read it either.
Mm,
Like, Dracula is a book I've read over and over and over, but I don't think I've
mm,
ever read Frankenstein, so I think I'm gonna have to rectify that. But I think like you, there's those certain touch points that everyone sort of
mm,
expects, which is like the lightning, the
mm,
kind of lurching monster, and then
mm,
it's sort of pitchforks, maybe a windmill, and fire.
mm. Yeah, yeah. I
The
think
mobs.
it's interesting. We'll get more into this in a minute, probably, but it's interesting watching this version and then going back mentally to older versions like the classic Universal one,
Mhm. Yeah,
um, where things play out slightly differently or they focus
yep,
on something, a certain element more than another. And it's just interesting to see, I guess, the comparisons because, like, this goes in a route that I was never expecting it to go. Again, I don't know whether that's faithful to the book or not.
yeah,
That's completely different. But I think because everyone is so used to that OG Universal version, which has the windmill, which has the pitchforks, which has the
yeah,
it's alive scene. I
yeah,
think unfortunately people are so used to expecting those things from this
yep,
that this film gives you those things, but not quite in the way you're expecting. And I
yeah,
think again, a weird one, not having read the book, but it's refreshing yet also probably faithful to the book,
yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Fireworks have started outside my window. We've reached that point of bonfire night weekend. When you said that, I had such an urge to just go, "It's alive!" I apologize
And
to
I
anybody
was
listening
as well.
to that.
I was close to doing it too.
Yeah, I think the way he's done it is so
Mm,
typically him. I love how
mm,
his you just even if you were just listening to this, I think you would know from the story beats and the way it plays out and the way he approaches the character that it's Guillermo del Toro rather than like random another director making like a monster movie. I love
yeah.
how his movies are so and I feel like it has similarities to Shape of Water in a way. I love how he romanticizes the creatures and plays it as a like
Mm,
analogy of just wanting to be human and trying to have a human experience when you're different in some way.
yeah. That's a good point actually. I didn't because unfortunately I've been viewing mentally I've been viewing this version of Frankenstein just as Frankenstein, like Guillermo del Toro's version of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's actually only because again, I saw this back at the start of October, so
Mm.
I've not had the chance to rewatch it, but
Yeah.
it is one of those things where like it's only now that I'm starting to mentally see the similarities between his other work. Some of
Yeah.
them very subtle, but in terms of like the way he approaches, like you said, the creatures and the themes, and I know what I mean. This is a positive, but it's going to sound like a negative. The way he deliberately like drags certain elements out
Yeah.
for the sake of effect is really evident here than saying something like I don't know, Hellboy's the first thing that comes into mind.
Mm.
Where that's not as evident. But yeah, it's only now that I'm starting to see those similarities. I guess the biggest similarity I can see is kind of with I guess Shape of Water is the best one to compare it to, especially from like the romanticized aspect.
Yeah.
Um and also there's yeah, I'm a bit like you on this one. My brain doesn't know where to start in terms of talking about this one.
There's some really
There are
interesting bits. Go on.
no, I was just going to say there's like loads of things I want to say, but I don't quite know how to coherently
I
say
think there
it.
are certain things that have become his like his playbook. And I don't mean that to
Yeah.
say that it's sort of repetitive. It's like it's
Mm.
almost like the Tim Burton effect. Like you can't help but
Oh
know
yeah.
something Tim Burton because he has a very, very well defined aesthetic. And I
Mm.
think like where Guillermo del Toro is in his career, it's that kind of lots of greens,
Mm.
slightly soft focus,
Mm.
um, very earthy.
Mm.
It's a very earthy film when you look at the color palette. There are so many kind of greens and browns and skin
Mm.
tones. There's just something about the way he approaches this fairy tale storytelling that has this kind
Mm.
of it's almost like all his films could be in the same world. Like there is like a from the world of Guillermo del Toro that means
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to get some interesting creature designs, but I'm also going to get this very specific approach to character
Mm.
and design that is so unmistakably him, which is really strong in this.
Mm.
I think Netflix very much is absolutely there's no studio meddling. It's just hands off.
No.
You go crazy and make what it is you want to
Mm.
make. And you see that in the scale of the set design in this and the production design, which is
Mm.
why I appreciated going to the exhibit so much to get to
Mm.
see some of the fine detail that you don't see when something, passes by on screen really, really quickly.
Yeah. No. Now that you mention the like the look and the color of it as well, I guess the like immediately my brain is going back to like Pan's Labyrinth and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's got a very, even though everyone always hones in on the fantasy elements, he's got a good way of like grounding fantasy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like again, The Shape of Water has a creature in it and it has those fantastical elements in it, but it is still very much rooted in a period drama.
Yeah.
Same for Crimson Peak, same
Yep.
for Pan's Labyrinth. Like it's very much about the Spanish Revolution. There just
Yeah.
happens to be all these fantastical, bizarre creatures in it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I feel
I
like
think it's when he does the IP stuff like Hellboy and Pacific Rim where
mm,
it veers away from that because that's not in his world. That's someone else's. I know, and Pacific Rim was
mm,
obviously an original thing, but it became an IP that
mm.
other people have worked on, and they become their own little sandbox. A sandbox in
Yeah, and
whereas I feel like the other stuff that he does, like again, like The Shape of Waters
mm,
and Pan's Labyrinth, are
mm.
his world is just. I feel like I know what's in his head when it's his world.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And even then, something like Hellboy still has that 50-50 balance of like there are grounded elements, but also
Mm,
you've got this giant red,
yeah,
devil thing with a rock hand at the same time.
yeah,
I feel like Frankenstein is it, again, I know what I mean when I say this. Frankenstein feels like the first film of his in a while. Again, going back to that thing of like it being drawn out, and this is probably goes back to the whole thing of him wanting to develop this story for about 30 years, but not having the opportunity until now to do it. Is that you feel like he's really, what's the word to describe it? It really feels like everything he's putting on the screen feels earned.
yeah,
I think he's, again, this isn't to discredit any of his other films, but like this one feels like really thought out. Like
yeah.
obviously the splitting it into halves aspect, the obviously costume design, the set design,
Incredible.
all that stuff. Yeah, all brilliant. But I don't know. When I watched this back in October, it just felt like again, I don't want to say as if I'm discrediting any of his other films because his other films are brilliant, but this one feels like the first film of his in a while where it's like this is how I want to tell this story, and
Mm,
you're seeing it like verbatim how I've imagined it for all these years. Again,
yeah,
that's not saying the other films are like that.
yeah,
It just feels like this is 100% his version of the story,
yeah,
whether it be slightly different or something new. But yeah, I think it really pays off. And
yeah.
again, seeing it in the cinema really did, especially at like 8:30 in the morning, because that was the press screening time at the
Okay.
London Film Festival. It definitely woke me up, especially because I was sat near the middle and it was like extremely loud. So when you've got the soldiers in the snow trying to
Yeah,
fight him off, and you've got like these incredibly loud like sword clash noises and gunshot sounds, definitely woke me up. Um, but yeah, I think attention to detail is what I'm trying to get at. I've
yeah.
rambled.
It's
A
very, very
film that,
well
yeah,
considered. Everything about it is very well considered, and I think that shines through in some of the behind the scenes stuff as well. Him talking about
mm,
set design, like
mm,
Victor's lab is an incredible set. It's so huge, like the
mm,
ceiling is so high, and the fact that they even built a set with a ceiling, and when you
yeah,
see it in the behind the scenes, it's massive. It fills an entire soundstage. Um,
mm,
and then all of the small details, like he's talking about how he incorporated circles a lot as the circle of life and the reciprocal nature of it all, and birth,
mm,
life, and death. So you've got the round window, the
mm,
batteries that are used to power his machinery are circular.
yeah,
Everything is there's yeah. You don't
yeah,
have to spend much time watching him talk about the film to know just how much
mm,
it's he had a very strong image of it in his head. Um,
Mm.
Casting wise,
Yeah.
I was so we watched this last night, and I was saying to Martin, like, I'm sure a lot of people probably only really think of Jacob Elordi for um, Saltburn,
Yeah.
and if that's the kind of thing that you know him from, I think you're probably going to watch this and be like, okay, he is
Mm.
a pretty serious, hefty actor, because
Yeah.
given how little dialogue he has, at least in the
Mm.
beginning, um, the physicality in his performance and just the size difference between him and Oscar Isaac
Mm.
as well. I think he does an incredible performance as the creature, particularly
Mm.
when you think that those early scenes when he's first born, he says that that's 11 hours in the makeup trailer before he even starts shooting to do that
Yeah.
stuff. So to be able to find a performance and the emotion that's still in his face, even under the prosthetics, I
Mm.
think is a pretty incredible performance. What do you think?
I mean, the only thing I've seen him in previously is Saltburn, and I liked him in that.
Yep.
But this feels something completely out of nowhere. Like, and I
Mm.
mean that in the best possible
I hope
the
it
best
that there
possible
is
way.
some awards buzz for it. I don't know whether it
Yeah.
necessarily needs to win awards, but I hope
Mm.
there is some contention for it and there's some
Mm.
consideration for it, because it certainly
Mm.
deserves some recognition in that respect. For me
Yeah.
anyway.
No, no, I totally agree. This is the first time where I've seen him in a film and gone, like, he deserves like, even if he just gets a nomination, and the same goes for Oscar Isaac, but we'll get to him in a second.
Yep.
But what Elordi has done with this film is genuinely, like, from my perspective, again, only knowing him from Saltburn, it's genuinely kind of mind blowing, because I'd seen some people's reviews on Letterboxd after it showed at London, and they said that, like, all I could see the entire time was Jacob Elordi once the creature was built, and I'm like, I didn't see that. I
Wow.
genuinely that
Yeah.
this, from my perspective, it took me a good 30 to 40 minutes for my brain to go, oh shit, that is a Jacob Elordi. I didn't actually
Yeah.
recognize it was him,
Yeah.
and that just kind of proves how good his
Yeah.
performance is. I've seen some interviews where he said that, like, he even learned like specific, I don't think he actually says what type of dance it is, but, like, he went to, like, these specific type of
Like movement.
yoga
Yep.
sessions and movement things, and basically was given free rein by Del Toro to kind of do whatever he wants in terms of the physicality or
Wow.
the way he wants to portray this creature in terms of how he thinks it would look
Yep.
and feel and sound. But obviously, the one thing I really appreciated that he said in the interview was that, like, I took that he took that experience, that opportunity, as much as he could, and did whatever he wanted to, but then always remembered in the back of his head, right, I'm going to do what I want in this scene as long as it serves the script.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some actors can, like, take a character and just go off the rails with it,
Yep.
and forget that they need to be honed in a little bit. Whereas I really appreciated the fact that it's like, yes, I'm going to do this, but purely only if it works for what the creature needs to be at this point in the script or the
Yep.
story.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a perfect opportunity to talk about Oscar Isaac, because
No, absolutely. Yeah.
for the entire first half of the film, he is the film. Like, he is
Yeah.
the he
He's the
is
center of
showing.
every scene.
Yeah, yeah. I absolutely loved it. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved this
He
performance.
I think because he's quite a big Victor Frankenstein
Mm.
in terms of personality. There's a lot to him.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of megalomania in there, which is, I think, a
Mm.
little bit different rather than the it's not mad. It is mad scientist, but it's not mad scientist. If
Mm.
you get what I mean, it's like there is a madness, but there's also an intelligence to him. And
Mm.
because we get to see flashbacks of him as a child, you get an idea of this kind of, his mum issues, his mother issues, and where that
Mm.
stems from, and how that also impacted on his view of death, and that it's all of that that has informed why he's doing what he's doing now, and his relationship with his father as well as his
Mm.
um, stepbrother, brother? No, brother. It was brother, wasn't it?
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that they were separated as
Mm.
children and grew up completely separately. Um, so I feel like you get to understand him as a character a lot more. I feel like we really dug
Mm.
into who he is, and that helps build up to all of the different things that
Mm.
he does. And there are moments when he goes big, like the scene when he's
Mm.
in the round
The
with that
lecture theatre scene is
incredible thing. I don't know if
yeah,
it's an animatronic or if it's VFX.
yeah.
There is a model of it in the exhibit,
Mm.
but it's not it doesn't do anything animatronic. So I don't know if it's VFX on the film or not.
Mm.
Whatever it is, it's incredible.
Mm.
There's moments like that where he does go quite big, but I feel like he is perfectly on the line of going big without going too far and without going too melodramatic. So
Yeah,
I definitely applaud him for a really strong performance. And then
yeah,
the other thing I was saying as we were watching it last night is, although there are strong moments where they talk about their relationship being father and son,
yeah.
particularly at the very end of the film, I also feel like it's played slightly romantically at moments. Like
Mm.
when the creature is first born and he wakes up
Mm.
Victor, they kind of he embraces him in a way that's slightly romantic, and then when the two of them come to resolve their issues, sorry, spoiler alert, it's played like a breakup scene, even
Yeah.
though Victor then says, he calls him my son.
Mm.
There's a Del Toro level of romance in there between these two characters, which is quite electric to watch at the same time. It plays it really
Mm.
well in that there is this affinity between them that could mean so many different things. God,
Mm.
that sounded really pretentious. It plays really well.
The funny thing is, like, I know exactly what you mean. At the same time, like,
Yeah.
yeah, when you say it out loud, it does sound pretentious, but like, it's probably what GDT was going for. I'm gonna start calling him that now. Yeah, no, I didn't even actually. Now that the more I think about it, that scene on the boat does play out like you said,
It's like
a
a breakup.
mutual breakup.
Yeah, that's it. It's very mature. It's very
Mm,
adult the way they do it. It's not like they're fighting
mm,
and it's like, "I'm leaving you." It's very, Victor is
mm,
accepting that it's time to let his son go, and the creature is very much, "I
mm,
hold nothing against you that you
mm.
have done to me," and it's like ugly
Yeah.
cry moment.
I also think it's because this is one thing I really love about Guillermo del Toro's films as a whole, but I think he does it perfectly in Frankenstein. Is that unlike some filmmakers where they bring up a theme or they bring up something early in the film that then that is somehow important later, they will then
Mhm.
like constantly remind you to make sure you
Yep.
didn't miss that
Yes.
point. Del Toro will just address something and
Yeah.
then just leave it for you to then mentally try and remember it later. And for
Yeah.
me, again, not having seen this since the start of October, I'm thinking of it a month later going, oh, hang on a minute, that makes sense. And now that you're bringing up that final scene, him acknowledging him
Yeah.
as a son, and again, the motivation of why Frankenstein did what he did in the first place was to kind of prove to his dad when he died, after he died, that he's a better doctor.
Yeah.
Almost, you start to see all those pieces fall into place,
Yep.
even though
It
they're
is.
like not
Yeah.
jammed down your throat.
Yeah.
It's
It
very
is.
subtle.
Considering it This is gonna sound terrible. Considering it's Netflix,
Yeah,
this is not made for the scrolling on the
no,
phone generation.
it really isn't.
If you're watching this, you're watching it and you're in it and you're, "Okay, this is
Mm,
because of this. This is coming from this." David Bradley's character,
mm,
his influence on Frankenstein, on the creature, is like is so important to who he then becomes as well.
mm,
Even though, they're only together for a short period of time on screen, his
yeah,
influence over the creature is so important to his personal journey and where he is at the end of the film for that really beautiful final moment of acceptance of light and warmth
yeah,
and humanity right at the end of the film. Um, it's making me want to watch it again.
yeah.
And
No,
then you get all of that,
yeah,
and you get another stunning Alexandra Desplat score,
yeah,
which I cannot wait to listen to. And we were just talking before we started
mm,
recording, but it's available on digital now, so I've not had a chance to listen to it yet. It came out
mm,
yesterday, but you can now pre-order it from Mutant on two very,
mm,
very, very stunning versions on vinyl, which I cannot wait to get my hands on. Um,
yeah,
I love that those two work together. There's such a shorthand between the two of them that I feel like
mm,
Desplat completely understands what GDT is doing,
yep,
and they come up like the themes in this film they're a little bit more understated, but then when you get to
mm,
hear them, they're really beautiful. So, like I was saying, I hadn't listened to it, but at the
Mm,
exhibit, there is a room specifically where you go in and
mm,
watch a reel of them recording the soundtrack and talking about the soundtrack, and they play a lot of the isolated music during it, and,
mm.
like, the main theme that plays in the end credits is just beautiful.
Love that. Um, that's actually sounds pretty cool. I still think my favorite score that he's done for a Del Toro film is The Shape of Water because it's just that
I listen
perfect
to it a lot.
balance of
Yeah.
yeah, it's that perfect balance of like almost being a bit lullaby,
Yes.
fairy tale but then there is that layer of darkness underneath
Yep.
that is just
There's
perfect for that film.
so many times I just start whistling that tune as well. I'll just, like, randomly in the middle of a day, I'll just start whistling the tune because it's
Mm.
just so, like, it's ingrained. It's such a beautiful soundtrack.
Yeah, no, it is so good. It's one of the few scores of his, or like Guillermo scores for a Del Toro film that I revisit the most.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
this one, I was listening to it yesterday when it dropped on
Yeah.
digital, and it is exactly how I would expect a score for a Frankenstein film to be. It's like
Exactly.
very theatrical in
Mm.
element. Like there's points where it is just how do I word it? Very gothic, obviously,
Yes.
um, where you just have that singular violin, like the high strings, and it's just a violin on its own. And again, it just feels very old fashioned. I mean that in
Yes,
a
it
very
does. It
positive
very
way.
old school, very traditional.
Yeah, like it fit that's the better way to put it. It fits the time period you're seeing on the film.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
feels like it's almost from that time period, but then obviously introduces some like slightly otherworldly, fantastical elements that need to support certain scenes that have
Yeah.
more of the creature in it.
Yeah.
I think it works really well. Again,
Yep.
hearing it in the cinema is like it just works perfectly. You can, like I said earlier, though, it can feel like an assault on the senses with the sound design, but the sound
Yeah.
design is bloody brilliant. But yeah, I have no fault with Alexandre Desplat's had a brilliant year, just full start with this and Jurassic World
Yep. Jurassic World.
Rebirth,
Yeah.
two brilliant scores.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this the score is perfect. Similar to what you said a minute ago, I can't imagine anyone else doing the score for Del Toro films now. Like I
Yeah.
realize
It's
Nathan,
like Kurt and Elfman as a pairing.
I only realized this the other day because I've not actually seen Nightmare Alley, but I thought the Splat did the score for that, but apparently it was Nathan Johnson who did the Knives Out scores,
Oh, okay.
um, which I haven't listened to because
Yep.
I haven't seen Nightmare Alley, but again, everything like Pinocchio or Shape of Water or this, again, I can't really imagine anyone else doing the scores now
Yeah.
because it just fits so perfectly.
Yeah. I think to wrap up on
Mhm.
Frankenstein, I think my only criticism, I feel like it does run a little bit long at just
Yeah.
over 2.5 hours. But I don't know what you would take out. I think that's
Mm,
my only real thing is it does feel a little bit long, and I felt it watching it at home yesterday that it was a little bit long. I didn't feel it quite so much the first time I watched it. And there is something a little bit, I don't know if it's because of the time period, but
mm,
something about seeing it in completely, like, ultra 4K, super sharp
yeah.
digital resolution, I feel like loses a little bit of the romanticism of it. I would like to see it a little bit more 35 mil crispy.
Yeah. No, funnily enough, that's one thing we were talking about before we started recording
Yeah.
because I think we were both of a similar mindset when we saw it in the cinema back in October. Like, it, for me anyway, and I know a lot of people felt the same way, is that if you see it in a cinema, it's so grand and epic in scale, like you'd expect from Del Toro, that you can't really imagine it being on Netflix because the scale is so big and you need to
Yeah.
appreciate it on a big screen. But now that it is on Netflix, given what you said, and now having really thought about it, and I've rewatched clips of it in the Netflix format. Yeah, the digital nature of it does. It's a
Suits
weird
home
one.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's like scale wise, you'd expect it to be like, oh no, that won't work on a tablet or a TV, and then you watch it on a tablet or a TV, and it's like
And it
that works
does.
surprisingly well.
Yeah. But it's still a 4 stars for me. What would you reviewed it for the website? Remind
Yeah.
me, what did you score it?
So I gave it a 4.5 because when I watched it in London, I was darting between a 4 and a 4.5 so much in my head because I'm like, I like it, but do I
Definitely
love
one of
it?
the best of the year.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I think similar to you, I think the length slash pacing in a couple of scenes is the only issue I really
Yeah.
had with it. But again, I don't really know what I would cut out.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I really appreciate the fact that Netflix are just letting Del Toro do what the hell he wants.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and he's just treating these films like, I don't want to use the term, but like how the old school way of like how we usually expect a film to be, like
Yeah.
something from the 2000s or the 90s, where it is just an auteur doing what he does best. And knowing if it's the sort of thing where like if Netflix did have more involvement, I can see them going, does the David Bradley stuff need to be there? We could easily
Yeah.
cut that
Yeah.
out. But they obviously haven't. They've just given him a massive budget and gone,
Yeah.
you're Del Toro, just do your thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of appreciate that and the fact that he's just able to do what he does best. But yeah, the pacing is the only thing, not pacing, but the length mixed with some elements of pacing in certain scenes is kind of the only thing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's more of a thing that I can see other people having an issue with. Whereas for me, I just kind of was wrapped up in the entire 2 hour and a 2 hour 30-minute runtime for the
Yeah.
entire thing. I was just wrapped up and immersed in it, which
Yeah.
is kind of what you want from a Del
Yeah.
Toro
Definitely.
film.
Yeah. And then, speaking of films of the year, I wanted, just before we wrap up for this
Mm-hmm.
episode, to touch on The Running Man, which you have not seen, so I'm not going to spoil anything.
Yep.
Technically, as we're recording this, it's still under embargo. By the time this podcast comes out, the embargo should have lifted. But I saw it this week, and it is surprisingly. I went into it thinking I'm going to enjoy this film because it's Edgar Wright, it's Glenn
Yep.
Powell, it's Coleman Domingo. I thought I'm going to enjoy this, and about 20 minutes in, I thought this might be my film of the year. So I'm not going to spoil it, but if you have seen the original movie, it still has some of that campy 80s sci-fi aesthetic to it. The way they play the kind of dystopian future world is still really like exactly probably how they would approach it in the 80s when they
Yeah.
made that type of weird high concept movie. But it's also made on a 110 million budget, meaning it's got all of the bells and whistles of the VFX that you can make now. Incredible cast, incredible script, and again, maybe runs just a little bit too long, and you could maybe trim a couple of bits down. But wow, I cannot wait for people to see it. So it's releasing in the UK on the 14th of November.
Yep.
And I am going to be telling anyone and everyone between now and then to make sure that they book their tickets for it because it's just brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. I know you're excited for it. We said we wanted to include it because I want to hear what you're excited for.
So I'm a massive Edgar Wright fan. I
Mhm.
pretty much have been since I first watched Shaun of the Dead and Spaced for the first time when I was a teenager. And I will I will eagerly be awaiting whatever his next film will be in the cinema. And the fact that he's gone for this is kind of a ballsy choice, but at the same time, as someone who found Last Night in Soho a little bit disappointing, I'm intrigued to see him return to like his energetic, fast-paced roots.
Yes,
And
it is very fast-paced.
as soon as I saw that first trailer, like this was the weird thing. It wasn't on my radar because I kind of forgot it existed at the start of the year. And then the trailer dropped, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, I need to. This looks like the kind of bonkers film I kind of need
Yes,
towards the
it is
back end of the
exactly that.
year.
Yeah.
I love Glenn Powell. I'm just really excited for it. I don't know why. This has kind of come out of nowhere as well. Like it's kind of sneaked up on me. Like I was aware of it existing now, but then November very quickly came, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah. Running
It's
Man's
here.
up next week. But I'm very excited for it. I'm hoping to see it next weekend. And I realized that this is like the 5th Stephen King adaptation we've had this year.
Yeah, he is having one hell of a year for good adaptations. He's having a good year.
Yeah, like it only just dawned on me when I was thinking about it because we've had like The Life of Chuck, which I know
Yep,
had a festival last year, but it got a
yep,
wide release. Yeah, had The Long Walk, which
yep.
is currently my favorite film of the year. Uh, The Monkey, which is a
Yep.
short story, and then Welcome to
Derry, yeah,
Derry.
which I've not
Um,
started yet.
no, I have no way of watching it, even though I really want to watch it.
We will do eventually. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, great year for him. So I don't want to say any more because I don't want to get into spoiler territory until the
Mm.
film's out. We'll do a proper deep dive into it once it's out, but it's one to be very, very excited for when it releases in the UK on November the 14th. So please, I implore you,
Mm.
if there is only one film that you are checking out in the rest of this month, make it Running Man because
Mm.
you will not regret it whatsoever.
And it has Arnold Schwarzenegger's approval.
It does have
He
Arnold
is
Schwarzenegger's
he is
approval, and
in
you
the
may or
film,
may not
and
see
he's
him in
good
the
at it.
film.
Yeah.
And that about wraps us up for this episode. So please, if you have checked out Frankenstein, let us know. Hit me up on social media at Neil Vag on all the major platforms, or find us at Get Your Comic Con, and let us know what you thought of it, because I'm really interested to know what people think of this adaptation. Because there are, like we were saying, there are so many different versions of it, and this is something very, very special, I think. So I really want to know what people think of it, and let us know if you're excited for Running Man as well. Aaron, where can people find you on the social medias? Remind people where to find you.
Oh, blimey. On Blue Sky and Instagram and all those usual places, you can find me at Aaron Azza, and on YouTube and TikTok, you can find me Aaron at the Movies, where I will be posting new stuff soon. I haven't done
Good.
one since the London Film Festival, but I have a few videos planned, including a Stephen King one, and
Nice.
possibly like a eulogy style video for the Star Trek trilogy
Oh,
because I like
nice.
them that much. But I have a few things planned for November.
So we'll be back in a couple of weeks where, funnily, we're going to be in December, which is really scary that we're going to be heading towards December pretty soon. So we're going to be heading towards our wrap up of the year, talking about all of our favorite things. You know, we started this year with what we're excited for, so we're going to wrap it up with what did we enjoy at the end of this year, of which there are clearly now going to be some surprises like The Running Man, and hopefully we'll find some time to deep dive into that one properly as well. So until next time, stay safe, stay well. I'll see you out there. Bye.